In this lesson, we'll set up our spine to have the flexibility we'd expect from our IK spline system. Let's go ahead and select our spline. We'll go to Move It Out and go to Point Level. You'll see that selecting one of our points will unlock the Attributes panel, but if we go ahead and select one of our points and start to move this around, we're going to get some really linear results. That's because the type of curve we're working with is a linear one. So to correct this, if we were to select both points, we'd want to make sure in our object we have the type set to Bezier. Now that is going to give us some really nice flexibility. And the result we're seeing here will be added to our spine rig, which is great. So until we go ahead and set this up, we'll need to undo back to make sure the spline is once again inside of the character. It won't do us any good if it's outside. Alright, from there, again selecting our points, we'll set the type to Bezier. Now we're ready to add our IK spline tag. And that's going to be added to the root joint of our spine, which in this case is BN hip. Alright, so we'll go to Tags, head over to Character Tags, and add the IK spline. From there, we'll go to the Tag menu, and we'll need to define a few things. We'll need to define our spline. Let's go ahead and drag and drop that. And also our end joint, which is BE chest end. Now we're not able to control the spine just yet. That's regulated by the handles we create. So let's go ahead and add 2. Index 0, this is for the hip area or our start point. So index 1, that's for the chest, right at the end of that spline. If we had a third point right at the center, that would be index 1, and our end point would be index 2. So we have a few options. We could either create our handles from the Create button, or we can go ahead and create control objects. Let's say we go ahead and take that option. So for controls, for our chest and hip, we can work with more triangle splines. You might think I really like triangles. I think they make cool control objects. That's just me. I don't know. But from there, let's say we go ahead and create this triangle spline. We'll make sure that snapping is turned on and we snap to grid. And we'll also want to make sure that we're using our linear tool. We'll draw out this shape. Okay, so from there, we will need to make sure that its axis is centered. Let's go ahead and take care of that. And now we'll snap this to our hip. So I'll turn off grid snapping and turn on axis snapping and go ahead and snap that in place. From there, in point level, let's say we go ahead and start to scale this out. Now before we get too far, we want to make sure that this control object's orientation is matched with our bone's orientation. I'll go to the Move tool, and I'll also make sure that work coordinates is off. And you'll see that this object's Y is up, the Z is pointed out. Whereas with our bone, looking at its axis, the Y is actually forward, Z is up. So what we'll need to do then is take this control, go into our Rotate tool, holding down Shift, we'll rotate this 90 degrees in the pitch axis. So now that the orientation is matched, and we can see that clearly if we were to go ahead and zoom back in, go to our Move tool and just move this over to the side, you'll see that the orientation of our control is matched with our bone. Again, no shifting will occur now when we go ahead and define these controls as objects that should affect our spine. So of course now we need to fix the orientation of this control object. And how are we going to do that? Well, we can do that from point level. Going back to point level, we'll go ahead and marquee select, grab our points, go back to our Rotate tool, hold down Shift, and rotate this -90 in the pitch axis. Okay, great. So from here, we can go to our move tool and move this forward a little bit more just to make sure it's centered better on our character. Great. All right, so from here, it's just a matter of now cloning this and adding it as a chest control. I'll press Control C, Control V. We'll go to our move tool and axis snap this to our chest bone. Okay, great. Let's go to rename these. It's going to be SC chest 01 and SC hip. Going back to our select tool, select both objects, head over to coordinates, go ahead and freeze their transformations. We could also recolor them from here. Let's say we work with a color of green. So I'll go ahead and dial down the red and the blue. Okay, great. Now we're ready to actually define them as controls. So we'll head over to our IK spline tag. We can go ahead and lock this down. So again, for the hip, that's index 0. For the chest, that is index 1. Now watch this. If we were